As Ahmed said, I'm Christine Lagorio-Chafkin. I am a senior writer at Inc. magazine, and I'm the author of the book We Are the Nerds: The Birth and Tumultuous Life of Reddit, the Internet's Culture Laboratory. I am so pleased to be joined today by Tessa Aragones and Molly Alter. Molly, welcome. She is from Index Ventures, and I'm going to let Tessa and Molly introduce themselves because they have such rich and fascinating careers and experience to bring to this discussion today. Tessa, why don't you go first?
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Tessa Aragones. I am the Chief Marketing Officer at Discord. Prior to this, I was the Chief Marketing Officer at Visco. And prior to that, I was about 10 years at Nike, working in brand marketing, global, and also digital innovation. I have about 12 patents filed by Nike as me as the inventor. And I actually started my career in the automotive business. And so that's why you see a lot of my old Volkswagen ads in the background. But I'm a first generation Filipino from Detroit, and I'm really excited to be here with you all today.
Fantastic. And Molly, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Great to see everyone digitally, that is. So I am an investor at Index Ventures. One of our wonderful portfolio companies is actually Discord, but we're also invested in plenty of things throughout the creator economy: Figma, Patreon, Roblox, Creative Juice, Linktree. And I've been an investor for the last 5 years. I joined Index last year, but prior to that, I was based in New York at Insight Partners. And I'm originally from the New York area, and living in London, but really excited to be sort of a bi-coastal investor. So yeah, great to see you all.
Great, thank you so much. So let's get started. We're here to talk about the creator economy today. So I don't want that to lead to any confusion, though, because when I think of Discord, I don't naturally think of the creator economy. Tessa, you might disagree with me. Maybe I should. Recently Discord, it's not quite reinventing itself, but it has a new logo and a new feel to it. So I'm wondering if you could explain a little bit about how Discord has served creators in the past and how it will in the future.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good call out, Christine. What makes Discord and the Discord experience really special is it's this place online where you can spend quality time with community and with friends. And I think that when it comes to what people think about Discord, we started off serving people who played video games. But when you think about how people can connect and do things together, whether they're playing video games together, watching content together, listening to music together, you can see how they can form a connection and find belonging. For creators specifically, we have launched some new features that's actually been really exciting to watch this spring. So we've launched a feature called Stage Channels, which is social audio, and Discovery, which allows people to find topics, and ticketing. So for the creator community, when you have events or things that you want to share your creative process or talking about behind the scenes, these features are actually able to invite more people in to be a part of that process.
Oh, that's fascinating. Tell me more about ticketing. So this is a way that folks can actually monetize their presence on Discord?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. What we want to do at Discord is, create a very engaging experience. So making sure that all the different communities have the right features to be able to engage with creators. And a lot of that is about proximity. When it comes to ticketing, we've seen some of our community members do some really interesting things around inviting people to events. And so we tend to work a lot with different creative integrations. And so if you say, for example, take Patreon, which Molly mentioned, or Twitch or YouTube, we have integrations with these companies. And so if creators have subscribers on any of those platforms, they can grant those subscribers special roles on Discord and give them special access to servers, and then have access to exclusive content. from a monetization standpoint, we're experimenting with ticketing and seeing how we structure it, because we want to encourage communities to have amazing events and then reward the creators that put the time and effort into putting them on. So keep looking more for experiment results and how that might evolve in the next few months.
Yeah, that's great. I want to talk to you more about what kinds of brands and what kinds of creators are using Discord and the different ways they're doing so. But first, let me talk to Molly a little bit. Molly, you work with a lot of different companies in the space of creators and additional service for creators, even in fintech for individuals. Let's talk about some of the interesting investments you've made recently or companies in the social space that you have your eye on.
Yeah, so the creator economy is broad, and so it helps to be able to break it down a little bit into different subsegments that either we're already invested in and maybe continuing to double down in, or maybe newer segments that we're starting to see interesting companies emerge. One of these segments is financial infrastructure for the creator economy. So when you think about these creators, they're actually almost like sort of like micro small businesses. And they need all of the tools that these small businesses are used to having in order to make this into really a career and a living. So one example within our portfolio is a business we invested in called Creative Juice. And they're trying to be sort of the financial, mission control for any creator. The first product is called a Juicemate, and it allows you as a creator to really just estimate the worth of your own content and your own media presence. So it would maybe say you have X YouTube followers and X TikTok likes, and we think that your base is worth Y. And then it layers on different financial tools that allow you to really run your business like a business rather than kind of an ad hoc passion project. So financial infrastructure is one area we're really interested in. We think creators in the education segment are quite compelling. OutSchool is a great example of this. It's not in our portfolio, but they have really leveraged teachers as creators who are going on this marketplace and offering classes mostly to younger students. These kids can kind of go on and take a class in astronomy from a former NASA engineer. That's a really interesting market segment for us because there's just so much pent up demand there. But what we're really noticing is that this economy is getting broader and wider, and there are more and more areas that are interesting for us to dig into. Social even had long been a category that had been sort of shrugged off. People had thought, okay, we have our social network now. We have Facebook and Instagram, and those are set in stone. And now we're seeing new social apps that are kind of turning that on its head. We're seeing a couple that are focusing on people taking pictures of others rather than selfies. So the selfie-less social app has arrived. And we're also just seeing more broadly within social that there's greater distribution of content. TikTok has made it so that creators are not just creating for their intimate social networks, they're creating for the wide universe of people, and there are endless possibilities that emerge from that. So it's a really exciting time to be investing in the creator economy.
Yeah, and you've for a while had your eye in this space and looking at different tools that sort of help self-employed individuals or help creators. We talked a little bit about kind of the disintermediation of traditional content creators and this new economy that's sort of being born. Are there other kind of tools like Substack or or similar to Discord, right? That you've had your eye on as well. I loved the note about fintech for individuals, but what else should we be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, Substack's a super interesting one. When you think about the creator economy, at the end of the day, a lot of the innovations is not in the actual creation. People have been creating for centuries, but it's how you monetize that. And so, you have people taking a subscription approach. Patreon is a great example of that. If you're a creator and you just want to get, these $5 per month, for example, subscriptions from your fans, Patreon is a really good option. There's sort of the ad hoc approaches. So Kickstarter, GoFundMe, which were kind of earlier iterations of this monetization. You have the tip jar approach, which is like, first of all, they actually integrated this with Twitter, but also, kind of buy me a coffee type of monetization. You have selling engagement, which is like Cameo, courses, Kajabi, Teachable, Thinkific. And then, to your point, you have sort of the newsletter and Substack type of monetization, which is fairly novel. You even have merchandise as a way to monetize. So some creators will start up a Teespring or a Fanjoy and just sell different items that have to do with their content. So it is there are a lot of different ways, a lot of different funding pathways for these creators, and it really is one of the most important points here, because the creator economy can't really exist in full unless these creators are making income. And so there are now so many more options than there used to be, and that has fueled a lot of this segment's growth.
Right. And I mean, it's fascinating, because that's been something that's been true for artists throughout time, right? An artist is not necessarily the best salesperson in the world. So a lot of these tools can help them kind of find their audience and bridge that gap, and hopefully make money. So Discord has for a long time been, a safe space for chat, for your small community. But how should people conceive of it going forward that might be beyond being, sort of a private Reddit or like a more complicated text thread? I know it has much greater potential than that, but I'll let you, Tessa, explain that.
Yeah, no, I think that's funny. I haven't heard it described in that way. Actually, when you think about Discord, I think that a few things make it feel very different. I mean, there is a feeling of it where people describe it like home, or a place, or like their living room. And, by nature, it feels more personal, because for these servers, a lot of them are private, where you have to get a direct link to be invited. I think that's what makes it feel special to the community members, because they're hanging out with their friends. But when you think about it, you have these conversations that actually feel very engaging, right? Because people are there, they feel safe to talk about things, because everybody in the server have a shared passion. When it comes to creators and some of their fans, some of the artists that come in, it's a way for them to have proximity to their fans and interact with them, especially for a lot of musicians who can't tour at the moment. And so we've seen a lot of things with I'll give an example. Like a few weeks ago, we partnered with Travis Scott. He launched his server, the Cactus Jack server, and that server broke the record for the most users joining a server on the first day. And the reason why I bring that up is because, as Molly mentioned, he is constantly giving offers to reward his fans for their engagement. And they also engage with him, and they feel as if they are more connected to him. And I think the other thing I would say is that just around social audio, I think just being able to listen to things that are, not a complicated thread, but actually hearing from the voice of different creators about different projects that they do. And, for me, as a creator, but also as a marketing leader in the industry, I mean, we have a responsibility to foster inclusivity and creativity. And so one of the things that we did in honor of Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is we partnered with Westbrook, which is Will Smith and Jada Smith's company. And we worked on a music video with Wyclef Jean and MC Jin for their single Stop the Hate. And then it was an important message. And so the guys actually came and they dropped into the hip hop server on Discord and actually talked about their experiences and why that message is so important. And, to be able to hear that from the guys actually was really special, right? It's storytelling, it's behind the scenes. And one of the things that happened was it's like the person who directed that music video actually did the Bruce Lee 30 for 30 Be Water. So you can see how creators are coming together to talk about their craft.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I mean, I want to talk more about social audio in general. I mean, we've been through this era of Clubhouse during the pandemic. Do you think that there's this promise of social audio that goes far beyond the pandemic, or was it a phenomenon that is sort of concentrated to the last year and a half?
Yeah, no, I think that, for us, Discord social audio has been part of our brand experience since the beginning. We have people who would come on and host large audio events just because you can connect with people versus around audio, text, or video. And it's really exciting to see the industry embracing it as a way to help people connect. And we're really looking forward to it. As I mentioned, we have stage channels and we're seeing more and more events pop up. We had Mr. Beast, who's a gamer, and he had a very successful channel. Actually, just over the weekend, Marcus Brownlee, a tech influencer, he had a very packed social audio event last week. And actually, this afternoon, in honor of Pride, I'll be doing a stage channel with a couple of the queens from RuPaul's Drag Race, interviewing Miss Cracker today and Sasha Velour tomorrow. So it's really exciting to see how people are coming in, especially for Pride, where people find belonging. We have a very large LGBTQIA community on Discord.
Yeah, that's great. And I wanted to talk to you more about something you just mentioned, which is inclusivity and the importance of that, and your own efforts, which are fantastic to kind of increase that on Discord. But there's also an inherent exclusivity to Discord. These servers are private. They're private invite only rooms, but that in a sense can make them more open to different viewpoints or make people more comfortable in speaking their minds. So I wanted to just talk with you both a little bit about that. Molly, is this something that you have developed a way of thinking about in regard to Discord and the other social companies that you've invested in?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point because you're right. It is a little bit paradoxical, and it comes back to, I think, really important themes around identity that are sort of underlying this entire world. I mean, if you go back to, you think about the 1960s and the content that was available, let's say on television, maybe there were 3 or 4 channels, and you didn't really get to choose what was on TV. And maybe you go to school the next day and you chat about it with your classmates, and maybe you prefer this show over that show, but there isn't a lot of options. Now with Discord, you can say there's so many things that you can be a fan of, that you can be consuming at a given point. You can say, I am the biggest fan of whatever, RuPaul, and I have all these people that don't have to go to my school. They could be spread throughout the entire world, and they all have this thing in common with me, and that is a shared identity that is, I think, very inherently inclusive, and a really beautiful thing. And now, these servers are private, but the thing that is exclusionary is not, oh, you live here, or you look like this, or, we have this perception of you. It's more around, is this something you're genuinely interested in? And that fosters a really natural community of people that are very, very genuine in their affinity for something. And I think that vision of the world is so much more exciting because we had this generations of people trying to kind of fit into societal norms, and generations of kind of accepting content that was put out there and molding yourself to fit that content. And now we have, especially with Gen Z, this this group of people who are so individualistic in a really authentic way, and want to find people who have the same interests as them, and don't want to necessarily mold in and say, oh, another person who watches the same thing on television. Instead, they want to say, no, I have this special niche interest, and there are all these people throughout the world that have the same exact interest, and we are a community. And I think it's a very uplifting trend.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, as the person who wrote a book about Reddit, I've seen every niche under the sun, every type of subreddit about, stapling bread to trees or any genre of music, any sports team out there. But I mean, there's two big issues that then come to mind, right? And that's one is moderation, and making sure that the content that is out there is safe for people to consume, and the other is monetization. Are the people doing the hard work of creating this content being paid for their work? And when the communities get more niche and smaller, it becomes less likely that they are. So I'm curious. We already talked a little bit about this, Molly, in terms of the finance that startups that you work with. But I'm wondering if either of you have any predictions for the future of how social and this kind of lack of monoculture that we have now will allow folks to be self-employed and creating the content that they're passionate about, while earning, something like a healthy paycheck.
I can take a stab at this, although it's a little bit out there, admittedly. So I generally think that the answer to this question is very much linked to a bigger issue that the country, the world is having around automation. We at Index invest in so many different SaaS tools, software as a service tools that are automating parts of the economy and driving greater efficiencies, but in some ways there becomes a jobs crisis at a certain point. Now what's really cool about the creator economy is it's taking these jobs which maybe had at one point maybe people were doing things that were perhaps better fit for a computer, and instead of having to do very, very repetitive tasks, we have people making money by doing deeply human, deeply creative things. And that's something I think that's really good for society, and sort of a slight silver lining to some of the challenges associated with automation. Now we have to make sure that these people are making enough money, and so there are political movements, like I know Andrew Yang talks a lot about this. There are political movements that suggest some forms of basic income, and who knows what the answer is. But I do think that one of the great challenges of the creator economy is that these people are working so incredibly hard. They're doing work that's very, very taxing and can be difficult on their mental health, and they're doing it sometimes in isolation, which is all the more reason to introduce strong communities using things like Discord. And so one of the main challenges we have is making sure that these people are making enough money, making sure that their mental health is okay, and making sure that this is a sustainable thing and not a flash in the pan where we have this whole population of creators burn out and go back to traditional jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tessa, what do you think about this?
Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating, and I really appreciate your perspective, Molly, on the mental health aspect of it. I am very inspired by the community on Discord, largely Gen Z, very globally minded. I think that one of the things I love about watching how the communities work is that it is so different than how people talk about the creator economy. And so a lot of times people ask, about Discord. Do you use Discord or do you use Twitch? And when I watch the community and how they interact, if they're a creator and they're interacting with their community, it usually is Discord and something else. So they might go and be watching a video on YouTube and discussing it with their friends on Discord. They might be engaging on Reddit and then dive deeper into Discord with a community to take that discussion further. And so I see it's a multi-screen, multi-service experience. It's a way that they can broaden their community around things that they feel passionate about. And I think that when you can think about monetization and sharing your creativity in a safe space, you can actually invite people in a way that you feel safe. You mentioned moderation. Discord takes moderation and trust and safety extremely seriously. About more than 15% of our company is actually dedicated to trust and safety. And it's not like a social media where We don't have a feed, there are no likes, and there's no real way for anything to go viral. But with that said, we do put a lot of emphasis on helping creators and brands and communities set up their rules and norms in a way that they can, scale their community, or in some cases, their creator, process in a safe way.
Yeah, I've noticed that so many of the different communities have lengthy rules, and yet they often, at least the ones that I've encountered, they really veer positive, right? They're really trying to encourage you to be the best version of yourself, and I think that's helpful. I mean, it doesn't do everything for you, but it sets up a nice kind of framework for a discussion. So let's talk about like what Molly, like, when you're making an investment in social, or when you're kind of vetting a company, are there any red flags for you that you say, I will not go there, I will not take this conversation any further with a company that does X or Y?
Oh, great question. I think we're very focused on founder integrity, so that's obviously first and foremost. But in terms of kind of business approach, I think if the last couple of years have taught us anything, it's to be really open-minded, and not shrug off things that maybe sound crazy, like NFTs, for example, or various other sort of crypto-based models. I think a lot of investors, probably ourselves included, have left a lot of money on the table by being quick to raise the red flag on things that sound a little bit crazy. We're at a really interesting time in the market right now. There's a lot of innovation. Things are moving quickly, and we have the technological infrastructure with crypto, but also otherwise, and distribution channels to really enable a lot of big businesses being built. And so I think to be too cautious and shrug things off too quickly is not smart. But we definitely, to echo the last point, care a lot about privacy and just kind of total respect for customers. And so any sort of low integrity approach in that would be a huge red flag for us.
Great. So integrity intact, all other red flags on the table. I like it.
Exactly.
Tessa, as for Discord, are there promises that you as a company have made to users that you say, we will never break this, we'll never go here, something that would be kind of against your own rules in terms of what you guys hold dear to the creators and to your audience?
We have a policy. We have a zero tolerance for any hate speech, and so that is something that we, talk about a lot. It's upfront for all of the communities, and we enforce it. And so that is one of the things that comes to mind around some of the policies. And I think it's because of that it makes people feel a little bit safer. And they tend to be more open on the platform.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I like that thought. We're going to move to some questions from the audience now. We've got one that just came in. This one's specifically for Molly. Considering that there are so many new players in the creators economy, do you see more consolidation moving forward in terms of companies, or do you think that the big tech companies, Facebook, YouTube, will be innovating? Will they be the sources of that, building organically, or I guess I don't know if that's an either or question, really. But what do you see in terms of market consolidation versus just big tech growth?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. We have seen some companies that are kind of tackling more features in the creator economy, either be acquired or actually more common. One of the large companies will just build that feature, and that is something. It's not a red flag necessarily, but it's something that we're wary of. For example, there were quite a few companies that had built really nice, strong captioning tech that allows you to automatically put written captions on any video, and a lot of these businesses grew quite well for quite a while. And TikTok recently released a feature that does the same thing natively within the app, and it makes it much more difficult for those independent businesses to to have a competitive advantage. So I do think there will be some of that, and some companies that are a little bit more niche might struggle. Where we see really exciting opportunity, though, is like a lot of solutions that we encountered that kind of unite a very fragmented world. I'll just give an example rather than talk around it. But one of our portfolio companies, Linktree, it's a very simple value prop. It's essentially a micro site, and you just put any link that is associated with you in this very short URL. And people will post their Linktree URL on their TikTok, on their Facebook, on their Snap, on their YouTube. And it has this kind of innate defensibility because you know, if TikTok released its own link in bio, you wouldn't necessarily be able to put that on your Facebook. And so by kind of being this intermediary Switzerland, they're able to have a really defensible position within this pretty competitive landscape. So that's, I think, a clear example of someone who's managed to carve out an approach despite increasing threats from all sides by kind of taking stock of the fragmentation and saying, let's leverage how fragmented this world is and be an intermediary layer.
Yeah, absolutely. Existing cross-platform too, right? I mean, how many companies really can do that for all social sites right now? But one aspect of the world that we have another question of about is crypto, and it seems like, you know, there's a lot of creators who are, you know, have this as a side hobby, and it's just everywhere online in terms of the marketing of, you know, and the just discussion of, but taking it really seriously. Tessa, someone wants to know whether Discord would ever be kind of in terms of taking payment from cryptocurrencies or work with them. Would crypto ever be part of this for you?
You know, like right now we're in the process of just doing some experiments around, you know, selling tickets and that type of thing. We have seen some of our creators actually engaging with crypto. I think Portugal the Man engaged with their fans a couple of months ago around crypto, which was really interesting to see how they were using it as a way to engage through a Discord experience. But yeah, you know, we haven't really talked about much of it, as we just are focusing on thinking about the structure of how we want to build it for the broader community.
Great. And Molly, what do you think is the relationship sort of between the creator economy and cryptocurrencies, or, you know, the ability? We saw a fascinating thing happen back in, you know, February with Reddit and the stock market and a few kind of undervalued stocks at the time. So, I mean, there's this interesting thing that can happen. But what do you think about the relationship between the creator economy and cryptocurrencies? And do you have any predictions there?
Yeah, I think it's all very much, you know, the same theme, which is disintermediating the middleman. It used to be, you know, to get on television, I'll go back to this TV analogy, you had to, you know, maybe fly to LA and audition, and someone had to kind of take a chance on you, and then they put you on TV, and, you know, hopefully you'd be a big hit. Now it's like, you know, you have an iPhone, you open up TikTok, you can go viral and be seen by hundreds of millions of people in the first day. And it's this age that is really empowering to people and is driving a lot of the creator economy. Now, the same exact thing happens with crypto. You know, when you take a step back, it's saying we don't need financial institutions to validate every single transaction. Like, let's take some of this agency back. And then, of course, the two, you know, intersect. You know, thematically they are aligned, but then they also intersect very tangibly. And we've seen this in quite a few startups. But even, you know, in the gaming world, is sort of a interesting quasi crypto example where you have you know, these virtual communities, so-called metaverse, where people are creating things in our company Roblox. You know, people are creating entire worlds, and they're buying and selling goods using a digital currency, and that is a behavior that is becoming more and more common. And so there's increasing comfort, which then only encourages the behavior further. So we expect that to accelerate even more.
Wow. Wait, what are they called? Robux or something? Yeah. So
Robux, exactly.
they're training kids to use crypto, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. So kids are like, oh yeah, I know. I mean, maybe they don't know what crypto is, but then when someone explains it to them, they're like, oh, it's like Robux. Yeah, for sure.
Wow, that's fascinating. Tessa, we have another audience question for you, which is
Sure.
a kind of neat one. Do people from different countries use Discord differently, or is the community global?
Yeah, so definitely the community is global. And just to give people a sense, our company has grown a lot over the past year. So we've tripled our revenue and doubled our monthly active users. We have more than 150 million monthly active users, largely Gen Z. About 80% of our user base is actually outside of the United States. And for that reason, when we do consumer insights, we talk to people from all over the world. Um, it's interesting to see, you can tell so much about what's going on in the world by observing behaviors on Discord. And, a couple things like
Yeah, what do you mean by
when
that?
yeah, it's like with COVID, right? So it's like when the world was shutting down again, in France opened up and then they went down again to lockdown, and then we saw activity spiking. Different types of activities where before we used to be primarily gaming focused. We have people now, I think more than 70% of the people who are on Discord using servers are using it with gaming plus something else. So this could be cooking, this could be education, this could be, plants. And so it's like really watching what the trends are. You can see small passion groups popping up around it. One of my favorite stage channels that actually happened a few weeks ago was there was a stage channel that was a bunch of people that are learning English as a second language. It was an ESL group, and they were all getting together, people from all different backgrounds, practicing how to tell jokes in English. And so it's like you see all these different types of things, but in that sense, it's a global community because you have people from all around the world coming together over a shared interest. And in this case, it was telling jokes in English. And I just love that. It's just so Discord.
I love that. All right, we only have about a minute left, but I'd love for each of you to give me quickly one prediction for the future of social media, social content, or creators.
A prediction. Well, I'll jump in. It's a prediction, but it's also a hope. And I have so much admiration for Gen Z. Watching what they do to make Discord what they want it to be is really inspiring for me. So, my hope is that what we see for communities is that they find their voice, that these small communities and platforms actually, bring people together. If our vision at Discord is an inclusive world where no one feels like an outsider, um, what we hope to do is to build Discord in a way that fosters that. And I'm very encouraged by this young generation, and my prediction is that they will continue to find ways to innovate and connect with people that are like-minded to do good things in the world.
I'll kind of piggyback off of that because I really love that prediction. And I'll say that, I think Gen Z has done a fantastic job of cultivating these communities and creating all this amazing content. And I think that other generations are starting to get a little bit of FOMO, you could say. And I think we're going to see this behavior expand beyond these sort of early adopter generations. And, you look at, older people, retirees in particular, they have all of the raw materials to make them great creators. They have a lot of time. They have a lot of knowledge and experience. They have a little bit more flexibility on income. So I think we're going to see some really amazing communities emerge there, and some amazing content as well. And it'll be fun to watch.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Molly. Thank you so much, Tessa. This has been a fantastic discussion, and I really appreciate your time today. I'm going to throw it back to Ahmed, and thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.